And there is a big week ahead for Donald Trump in the courtroom as closing arguments are slated to begin in his hush money trial. Both the defense and prosecution rested this past week after calling nearly 24 witnesses and showing the jury hundreds of pieces of evidence. And meanwhile, a federal judge made some pretrial rulings in the gun charges trial of President Biden's son, Hunter. That case is expected to begin a week from Monday. For more on both of these cases, we are joined by federal and criminal and civil attorney Mark Reichel. Mark, that was a mouthful, but thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your time tonight.
As always, thank you for having me.
Mark, let's start with Trump's hush money trial. It is nearing deliberations. How do you see this case playing out? Do you think the prosecution did enough?
You know, I think they did just enough. They had a tough thing to deal with Michael Cohen, who's just a terrible witness, doesn't have any veracity. Nobody believes a word the guy really says. But they really did set everything around it. So all he really had to do was appear and acknowledge some things that can't be disputed, like that's his signature. He was around on these days and so forth. The only way the defense can do this is to make the jury truly believe that nothing Michael Cohen said can be believed, and therefore dislike the fact that a man was prosecuted based on the word of Michael Cohen. That's what the defense is going to do. So I predict that there's going to be a conviction, but just barely.
Yeah, if Trump is convicted, what kind of sentence do you think he's looking at?
Well, normally, if this was just a regular case, the judge is going to look at someone who's very old, who has no prior criminal convictions, okay? And this is a white-collar case, no violence involved, and it happened a long time ago. So ordinarily, a judge in a case like this would probably go rather soft on someone and say, look, now you've got a felony conviction. How about some house arrest or an ankle monitor or something short like that and a term of probation? But here, I think what's going to come into play is the absolute lack of remorse and how he comported himself during the trial, and based on the charges, the disregard for everything to do with the case. It may make the judge say, look, you know, for deterrence effect and to punish, I may have to actually impose some type of jail sentence. That's possible here. Not completely likely, but it's certainly possible.
Moving to the Hunter Biden case with the time we have, what are prosecutors trying to prove there?
Well, they're going to prove there that, look, they're going to try to make it simple. You fill out a form. You have to be truthful. It's under penalty of perjury. Ever been convicted of a felony? Yes or no? Is there a restraining order against you? Yes or no? And finally, this question here, are you an addict? Or are you an unlawful user of controlled substances? And they're going to use everything Hunter Biden said in books, in statements, stuff that's on his computers and so forth to show at the time he bought this gun and was, filled out the form that he was using unlawful substances, specifically cocaine and other drugs.
You know, the judge yesterday made a couple pretrial rulings regarding evidence. How will those decisions impact the prosecutors and the defense here?
You know, I don't think the prosecutors really needed it. However, if he takes the stand and denies something that opens the door, then they'll say, wait a minute, you're also charged with tax evasion. You've got you don't pay your child support in Arkansas. So if he tries to say his character is a great character and he doesn't have problems with truth and that he's a truth teller and he has great candor and credibility, they'll say, now we're going to impeach you. That's if Mr. Biden takes the stand.
And given Hunter Biden's well-documented past with narcotics, with drugs, will his credibility be targeted here?
You know, they're probably not going to really overtly go at it because they think they're already going to have people thinking, wait a minute, you just filled out a form to buy a firearm, and the question is whether you used to use drugs or not. I think people may be a little sympathetic to that, so I don't think they're going to go, overreach here and try to beat him up too much on credibility or character issues. I think they're going to stay away from that too much.
Yeah, Mark Reichel, always appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Natasha.